Okay, next up in our series on what holster to buy are going to be nylon holsters. Now you definitely see a lot of different styles of nylon holsters out there, but you know, I can't say that I like them that much. For a long time they were the best thing you could buy, but now that Kydex has come out, I just really don't like nylon as much as I used to. It does have its purpose, you know, and it does have its advantages over other materials for some things. For military uses, it's a great material, but you know, for CCW, for just civilian open carry, you know, there's just nicer materials like the leather, or just more useful materials like the Kydex. But needless to say, we will get into some of them here. Quite a bunch of varieties. So I'm going to start out with some large frame revolver holsters. Bring out my big 44 here, and the one that I like to use mostly is this guy. It's a Bianchi. It's broken, so I have to fix it right now, but you get the idea what it would work like. And if I can find my belt here, it's got just a bit of a cant, so that would represent the belt line. It sits on the belt about like that, which is both to give it a little more ease when you're drawing it, but I think also to help for weight distribution. To kind of give an example of a cheaper one, I've got this one made by Bucheimer, made in the USA, but just not the same kind of quality. Snaps over and will fit this one. It'll actually fit an even longer one. Now, to be honest, I bought this for a BB gun when I was a kid, so I'm not even sure, you know, how long they expected this holster to last, and you know what it was made for. It might have been made for BB guns for all I know. But some of the differences are, you know, stronger, like 1000 denier nylon compared to maybe 50. You know, the types of stitching, single stitched, although that single stitching has lasted me 30 years probably. Just better stitching overall, but of course better stitching didn't help right here where this came loose. Another feature on this one, this is all padded, which is nice when you've got the large revolver bumping against you all the time. This one's got some padding, but not so much. But the big difference is back here, the belt's going to go through. It's a straight up and down, but the belt goes through here. The Velcro is on the inside of the body from the belt, and then I guess that's supposed to hold this in place, where on this one the Velcro's in the actual belt loop, so the belt itself, you know, smush into the body is what holds this strap in place. So anyway, some options for large revolvers. One more option for a large revolver, because this can be kind of heavy, and if you're walking around, depending on, you know, how much weight you want on your actual pants, here's a shoulder option. When I was a kid, I had 2 BB guns that would fit in here, but now graduated up to these. So this holds the revolver a little bit different way, and this gives you the option to carry 2 of them, and their weight holds them, you know, kind of in balance. So nylon options. The nylon material, you know, it can get wet. It's not going to hurt it. It can be put away wet. To some extent, you know, over time that's going to hurt it, but not as susceptible to water as leather can be. It's usually black. Sometimes you can get it in some other colors, but for the most part it's always some sort of a black. The Uncle Mikes Sidekicks have been around for a long time now. I think they might have been, you know, one of the first ones out there. Very durable. They've got this sort of rubberized panel, which allows a big belt to go through, or a smaller belt to go through the slots. Real simple, usually a snap. Some of them have some Velcro and some different types of materials for the strap, but for the most part they're all the same. They're just cut in different shapes, in a more organic shape for a revolver, and a straighter cut for like a 1911. Something like a 1911 fits in them just great. Well, I've got the strap inside there that fits in them nice. Easy to work. You know, it's easy to snap that with your finger, or to snap it as you're grabbing it. Holds the trigger protected. You know, good solid grip on the guns. There's really, you can't say that they're bad holsters. It's just that they're not as flashy as some of the new stuff that's out there. But again, it's not like I don't have a bunch of them here. For the longest time, you know, this was about the coolest holster you could get compared to all the leather, and really leather was your only other option decades ago. I've got another shoulder holster type of option here. This one's made by Uncle Mike's also. It's the Sidekick shoulder holster. Again, for a while your option was, you know, a Miami Vice type leather or this, and this was just a combination of being cheaper and, in my opinion, more durable and whatnot. It's basically like a really lightweight seatbelt material, lots of metal clasps. I'm guessing the metal is because there wasn't so much polymer stuff like we got nowadays when this was made, but I think also because polymer tends to be bulky. This was supposed to, you know, designed to be worn under a shirt or a jacket, so they wanted to keep it as low profile as possible. In any case, you can see it hasn't gotten a lot of use. This will hold most large frame revolvers, but it's just not comfortable enough. I didn't really ever feel comfortable wearing it. It is good when I was out hiking and I didn't like a lot of weight on my belt line, but you know, as soon as better options came along, it went into the closet. Next up, we have a military style. This is actually military issue from Bianchi, a MU or a UM 84/92, basically a large frame auto holster. Now, again, I can't say that I have the highest opinion of leather holsters anymore, but this is one of my favorites. It's just sort of a no frills, one size fits all, fits most large autos with no problem. It's probably made for the Beretta, of course, but you know, that 1911 fit in there just fine with the hammer back. Fits this Glock 22 with no problem. I can put this XD 45 in there. A little bit more snug than the Glock, but no problems, fits right in. And I could go on and on. It fits most large frame revolvers. This flap is just like the old military 1911 style. You know, it's kind of reminiscent of that, designed to both hold and protect the pistol. On this particular one up front, they've got a cleaning rod built in, which is kind of cool. It can either screw in a tip or just use it by itself to ram a cleaning patch through. The snap holds it in place, nice and secure, doesn't add any weight. It's a polymer rod, so it's very lightweight. There's a rubber bush in here, again, to keep the stress off the nylon material and to help shape the trigger guard area. When we got that pistol in there, you know, it's held well, and you can see that the belt would typically come through either the large clasp here for like Alice gear and stuff, or, and that's a quick detach, you just use the tension springs there to hold it together, or you could be fed through the rubber part. When this is open, the flap can either be removed or this whole unit can come out and be put in the other side for left-hand use, and then the flap can just be put on the other way for left-hand use, or this can be put onto a vest or something horizontally. Real modular, real you know, handy holster. Like I said, I'm a big fan of this one for open carry, for hunting. You know, anytime I need to just carry a pistol outside the clothing, like a jacket, for the winter time or something, this is a great option. And I like the idea of, you know, it being sort of secure as opposed to a lot of the CCW options, which, you know, just depend on friction on the trigger guard. Next up is the simple Pancake style from Bianchi, and I'm a real big fan of this one. For some reason, it's got Velcro material, the soft side of Velcro all over the back, and I have no idea. I've picked this holster up at a gun show really cheap. But it's got snaps here, so in case you want to put this on without taking off your belt, it's possible. Most of the time I leave the snaps on. This flap part, either coincidence or by design, is large enough that when it's on your body and your belt is through here, it's held on and it's not going to fall out or slip through or anything. It works typically for me. I carry a Glock. Grab this Glock 23 and slip it in there. There's nothing to retain it, or if there was, it probably is the reason for the Velcro here. Some sort of a strap probably came along. I never used it with the strap and I've never had a problem. It sits just sort of with a very slight forward cant on the belt, so It's just perfect for right-hand carry for me. While it's not an inside the waistband, it's a very low profile, so I find that it's very effective, very subtle under just a loose fitting overshirt. I really enjoy this one. Very simple, again made by Bianchi, just a pancake style. Here's another style made by Uncle Mike's. It's similar, but just not exactly the same. Now this one is sort of a thick padded nylon, and it's got just belt loops, so it's either going to sit like this or like this for either left or right-handed carry. You would stick a straw, back of a spoon or a popsicle stick to break the Velcro grip on this sort of a Kydex or a plastic thumb side, and then on this softer rubber material, again, you'd stick the back of a spoon or a popsicle stick to break them Velcro, and you'd pull these out and swap them to make it a left-hand carry. But in this case, it's set up for, it seems to be cut for a revolver. I honestly don't use this holster very much at all, so it's not going to fit real well with this example, but this would come around, and this is set up right now for outside the waistband right-hand carry. So I would come down with my right hand, use the thumb brake to break the snap, and then pull it out. Not my favorite holster, I haven't used it. I'm going to try it with this little Kel-Tec just to see if that works any better. And it does. I'd have to adjust these straps quite a bit, but at least this way it would cover the pistol, the trigger guard. But honestly, it wouldn't give me enough grip, so I don't think I'd use it with the Kel-Tec. I'll try it with this little Glock. I don't think it'll work very well. No, not at all. So I'm really not sure what this might be for. Maybe a Bursa. I must have just kind of accumulated this holster along the way, thought it would work for a revolver. Obviously I've never really tried it. So whatever this one's for probably works pretty efficiently, but it's a good idea of the kind of versatility of the nylon material. Another type of nylon is more of a duty style. This is another Bianchi, and it's sort of molded, it's formed for the 1911. So this holster is not going to work with other pistols, and the 1911 is going to fit right in. And again, it's molded for the 1911, so most people carry their 1911s with the hammer back and the safety on, and then this comes in to be an extra barrier from the hammer falling forward on a live round. It covers the trigger guard, so it's a very effective holster. You can see that it rides fairly high. Most inside the waistband, tend to ride this way. This one rides way up here with just a slight forward cant. And again, I think that might be more for, well, actually, I'm just holding it wrong. It's a very up and down holster. So, more for presentation, more for looks than, for anything else. Not that it's super wide. Leather holsters might be very comparable. Kydex might be very comparable, but just a little bit too much bulk for most people. And since most people, at least these days, they're not looking for thumb brakes, so this just relies on the thumb brake, that relies on this strap to hold the pistol in place. The new Kydex stuff doesn't, so this one's just losing out to the Kydex for that alone. Last up, we've got a sort of a hybrid before we get to these more tactical style. This one's a hybrid between leather and nylon. We showed this one in the leather one as well. This one's made for small revolvers in a small of the waistband, or excuse me, small of the back type of carry. It would carry like this in relation to the belt, almost horizontally. And this style used to be very popular. It's less and less popular as people are finding out that it can be a little dangerous for the carrier. But that's what this holster is designed for, I suspect. It was designed with, since the leather has different properties than the nylon does, because this needed to be particularly firm in this plane. The leather was a better material. Well, it was probably cheaper to go with nylon for whatever reasons, for the holster section and for this thumb brake and the retaining strap. So I suspect that this one was made so that once the leather would wear out or get too too soft, you could just unscrew it and put a new piece of leather on and continue to use the holster part. A little bulky, but again, it used to be a very popular style. So that's a combination. Next we get into more of these tactical styles. These three are drop legs. I guess before that I'll just mention this is a Duel AR-15 or M16, a double mag pouch, so two 30-round magazines would fit in here with the top flipped over. But what most people don't realize is that this also works for most large frame autos as a quick pistol holster. The 1911 works just fine, works even better with this full-size Glock 22. Fits right in, good amount of Velcro holds, so it's a great emergency holster. Or I actually run one of these on my chest rig. I just leave it empty, so if I bet my pistol in my regular CCW holster and I'm not using this, it's just nice and flat. But in a pinch, if I do need a place to put my pistol, I can either put the flap inside and just hold my pistol in that pocket, which covers the trigger guard and keeps it fairly secure. Gravity keeps it in place. If I did a headstand, it would fall out, but I usually don't do headstands when I'm wearing my chest rig. But it allows me a place to keep the pistol and then even retain the pistol if necessary in a pinch. So since it's nylon, I threw it in the nylon pile here. As I mentioned, these are all drop leg holsters. What that means is that the holster drops down from the belt line. So now I'm going to bring the belt up here where it would be around your waist, and now the holster is going to drop quite a ways down. This one drops from about that distance, and this last one drops about that distance. This last one here has a flap, and that keeps flipping up in the way, but you see that the belt line is up there. What this allows for is most people, when they drop their hands to their side, their hands are going to match up on their thighs somewhere between their knees and their waist. So to reduce the travel of your hand going upwards near the holster, you can just come forward. It also allows you to have armor or other type of gear on around your waist, and then it allows the holster to drop below that for ease of access. So most of these holsters, in fact, they're all made for large autos. They're really not specific, and that's an advantage to nylon, is that they're not necessarily very specific to the pistol. So if you know, a thin Glock, a fat Glock, a SIG, an HK, whatever, most nylon's going to accept whatever you feed it. So these all insert in a little bit different way, but they all basically do the same thing, which is hold the holster in place on your leg. Another feature of a drop leg holster is that it's going to have some sort of straps that go along around your leg, between your knee and your waist, so around your thigh somewhere, and that's to stop the holster from flopping around. These just have quick nylon straps with some amount of elasticity with a clasp. This last one is the cheapest, least expensive one, and it just has a piece of Velcro on some nylon, and it's getting all gunky and cheap. This was, you know, one of my first ones when I was just a kid out shooting at dirt, and thought it'd be neat to have something sort of like what they used on TV. So you know, this holds the pistol and everything. Very cheap, ineffective thumb snap that only adjusts on the one side, or I guess it does adjust on the both sides, but I don't have it adjusted very well for a Glock for sure. Has the ability to put a magazine up front, which sounds neat, you know, in the descriptions, but since your pistol is going to be in your right hand, what are you going to reach around to your right thigh and pick this up? So I tend to use these for flashlights before I use them for extra magazine holding. Anyway, this is a cheap one, metal snaps, Velcro, and then just, you know, the shoulder, the leg straps are sewn on. So just a, you know, inexpensive one compared to an off-the-shelf one made by Blackhawk. This one is sort of a modular thing with some, I wouldn't call it molly, but, you know, a lot of snaps, one buckle. Looks like we've got a little shock cord thing to maybe put around a hammer on a SIG or an HK or something, with some sort of a nylon strap for pulling that free really fast. Not a bad holster, fairly well made, but then I compare it to this guy, which I bought at a gun show. This one is made by Eagle, and it's basically real gear, you know, made to actually be used by law enforcement. So a lot of the features here are just, you know, so much further than this cheap one, it's not even funny. First off, the entire thing can come off from a belt, so if you're injured or if you need to gear up and you don't have a chance to pull your pants off and pull your belt off and all that, this can definitely be put on. 1 inch, 2 inch thick webbing, Velcro completely up and down here, so it's not going to fall apart, it's not going to unravel, not depending on an inch worth of attachment. It's giving you a good solid foot worth of attachment. Once you have it in place, another strap, which the Velcro is going to, smush into your body, so there's no incentive for any of this Velcro to switch position or move. The leg strap wasn't here, but to show you that the leg strap isn't attached, it goes through these loops. Flipping around to this side, you've got clips, which if you were doing something where you were jumping around, jumping out of a vehicle, jumping out of an airplane or something, you'd want these things to be super secure. Once you're out of the vehicle, you can disconnect these if necessary for fast access to grenades. Everything that's sewn, you can see there's a grid here. There's no slippage. There's no chance for anything here to slip around. Now, this is a left-handed version, so it would be worn up here with the drop leg holster, so worn up here. It would look like this when it's in use. There's a piece of Velcro here and this piece of Velcro here, so that when, again, this can be all, I'm going to put a gun into it. Once you've got your gun in it, let's say again you're going to be jumping in and out of vehicles, doing a lot of running around, you'd have everything clipped up so that it's very secure, no chance, very, very little chance of anything getting loose. Even if the gun somehow got loose, there's just not enough opening for it to slip out. Now you get into a situation where you're going to probably need this thing really fast. Again, you can decide whether or not you're going to need these grenades down here. They're a little large, but you could also use these for magazines, but again, tactically you'd have your magazines on your weak side. So this is more for the grenades. They have Velcro to keep them in place. You would just disconnect these. You could disconnect this clip. Again, with this Velcro, we'll hold it up, and now it's giving your hand basically a ramp down to your pistol. You can take your pistol out and holster it without the strap, and now gravity's holding it in. So again, you've got this nylon ramp. Well, I didn't want to end up saying too much about the nylon, but I ended up saying quite a bit about it. Again, it's not the worst material out there, it's not the best material out there. Most people tend not to bother with it for CCW or open carry even, except for circumstances where where it's appropriate. One thing I really like with the nylon materials are the belts that are available. Leather belts are great, and I started out with leather belts for gun belts, but they age quickly. They tend to stretch. Water's an issue. Sweat can be an issue. The Wilderness is a company up in Phoenix area, and they make these instructor belts and a couple other type of variety. These are the ones I like best. Just a great type of attachment, well engineered, they know what they're doing. Nice simple belt. This Velcro is going to come back and attach. Infinite adjustability, so if you get fat and thin like I do, you don't have to worry about holes. They're going to last a long time, and the added plus, besides being just a great 2-inch strong belt, this one's got some extra stitching to keep it nice and rigid. Is the extra benefit is that because you've got such a strong piece of nylon around you, you've actually got a fairly secure attachment point here if you ever get into a rescue situation. So really nice belts made out of nylon. Figured I'd mention them because a good part of a holster, important part of a holster, is a belt. So these Wilderness belts really get a thumbs up from us and from a lot of shooters out there.